Hey everyone and welcome back to the channel. So, your trusty code scanner spits out P0302 cylinder to misfire detected. What on earth does that mean? Let's break it down. Your car's engine has cylinders, which are basically the heart chambers, where the magic of combustion happens. Air and fuel go in, the spark ignites the mixture, and boom power is created. A misfire happens when that combustion process fails in a specific cylinder. The O2 at the end of P0302 simply tells us that the problem child is cylinder number 2. The engine's computer, or ACU, is incredibly smart. It constantly monitors the rotational speed of the crankshaft. When a cylinder misfires, it doesn't contribute its share of power, causing a tiny hiccup or slowdown in the crankshaft's rotation. The ECU picks up on this inconsistency and says, "Whoa, something's not right with cylinder 2. And then it turns on your check engine light to get your attention. Now, how does this feel when you're driving? The symptoms of a P0302 code can range from barely noticeable to downright annoying. The most common symptom is a rough or shaky idle. When you're stopped at a red light, you might feel the whole car vibrating or sputtering more than usual. Another big one is hesitation or stumbling during acceleration. You press the gas pedal, and instead of a smooth takeoff, the car might jerk, sputter, or feel like it's struggling to get going. You might also notice a drop in fuel economy, which makes sense because unburnt fuel is being wasted. In more severe cases, you could smell gasoline from the exhaust, see a flashing check engine light, which is a serious warning to stop driving, or even experience a significant loss of power. Okay, we know what it is and what it feels like. The next logical question is, where is cylinder 2? This is a crucial first step in your diagnosis. The location of cylinder 2 depends entirely on your engine's configuration. On a straighter inline engine, like an inline 4 or inline 6, it's almost always the second cylinder from the front of the engine, where the accessory belts are. So you'd count 1, 2, and that's your guy. However, on V-type engines, like a V6 or V8, it gets a bit trickier. Different manufacturers have different numbering systems. For many V6 engines, one bank of cylinders might be 135, and the other 2 for 6. But for others, it could be different. The absolute best way to be sure is to do a quick search online for your specific car S make, model, and year, along with cylinder firing order, or a cylinder location diagram. This will save you a ton of time and prevent you from working on the wrong cylinder. So, what are the usual suspects that cause a P0302 misfire? The vast majority of misfires are caused by one of 3 things: a problem with spark, a problem with fuel, or a problem with compression. Let's start with the most common and easiest to check: the ignition system. We're talking about the spark plug, the ignition coil or coil pack, and the spark plug wire if your car has one. A worn-out or fouled spark plug can't create a strong enough spark. An ignition coil can fail, meaning it's not sending enough voltage to the plug. These components are wear-and-tear items, so they don't last forever. Next up is the fuel system. The fuel injector for cylinder 2 could be clogged or dirty, preventing the right amount of fuel from being sprayed into the cylinder. It could also be failing electrically, meaning it's not opening and closing when it's supposed to. Less commonly, you might have an issue with fuel pressure, but that would typically cause misfires on multiple cylinders, not just one. Finally, we have the less common but more serious potential causes: mechanical engine problems. This relates to compression. A cylinder needs good compression to fire properly. Issues like a leaky valve, a worn piston ring, or even a blown head gasket can cause a loss of compression in cylinder 2. These are definitely more complex and expensive repairs, which is why we always start by diagnosing the ignition and fuel systems first. Don't panic and assume the worst right away. Alright, let's get our hands dirty with the fix. The diagnostic process is a process of elimination, starting with the simplest and cheapest things first. Step 1. The ignition system. Your first move should be to inspect the spark plug in cylinder 2. Carefully remove it and take a look. Is it covered in black soot, wet with oil, or does the electrode look worn down and old? If it looks bad, replacing it is a no-brainer. In fact, if the plugs are old, it's best practice to replace all of them at once. A fantastic diagnostic trick is the coil swap. If your engine has individual coil and plug units, This is super easy. Simply swap the ignition coil from cylinder 2 with the coil from another cylinder, say, cylinder 3. Then, clear the codes and drive the car. If the misfire code moves to the new cylinder in this case, if you now get a P0303 for cylinder 3, you've found your culprit. It's a bad ignition coil. This is a 100% confirmation, and you can buy a new coil with confidence. If the misfire stays on cylinder 2 after swapping the coil and replacing the plug, your next target is the fuel injector. You can do a similar swap with the fuel injector, but this is a bit more involved and may require special tools. A simpler test is to listen to the injector. With the engine running, you can use a mechanic-S stethoscope or even a long screwdriver held to your ear to listen to the injector on cylinder 2. You should hear a consistent, rapid clicking sound. If it's silent or sounds different from the others, it might be faulty. If you suspect a clogged injector, you can try running a high-quality fuel injector cleaner through your system as a first step. If you've checked the spark plug, confirmed the coil is good, and you suspect the injector is working, but the P0302 code persists, it might be time to check for a mechanical issue. This is where a compression test comes in. This test measures the pressure inside the cylinder and will tell you if you have a sealing problem. If the compression in cylinder 2 is significantly lower than the other cylinders, you'll know you have a deeper